Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not having an amazing day, not having a bad day. Um, I'm trying to show up places right now, and I don't know. I feel like I've always wondered, if I have some level of mental retardation versus just severe and persistent mental illness, and I do think I'm going to have to disagree with the consensus opinion and kind of realize my own findings. And I'd say I have some level of mild mental retardation. And, I don't know if I'm able to be a academic or a teacher, but I do know that there's one thing I can do, and that is talk. And then I think that's pretty much the only skill you need if you're going to work with kids. So I'm kind of realizing that I'd like to work with kids again, and I'd like to use my ability to talk, I suppose. Looks like a FedEx jacket, or a Huskies jacket.
Yeah. It's the Phoenix.
I like the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, I think there was a Alonzo Mourning back in the day, or... Yeah.
You put your birthday last week.
It turned out that I dipped into my resourcefulness. Something Dawn used to tell me is that I'm a very resourceful guy, and that can seem kind of degrading, but I think I have no problem being kind of a hidden fixture, I suppose. And I like to think of myself as kind of just a liver and a lifer. Something I read about in the book Train Spotting. And I think it has variable definitions, maybe a life sense, a life of addiction, or just a lifer, the art of life. Did you play sports growing up?
Yes. Basketball, one year football.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess it's not a competition. I like to remind myself. My mom thinks of my sister as an overachiever. My sister expects me to thrive and prosper, but I think the actual achievement is sort of hidden. And I don't know, at the end of the day, I know what I said was that I want to help people. And then I started seeing results, I think. But I think some of this kind of fake arrogance that was part of the sense of humor turned into something a little more morose or sickly. And I saw that I am competitive, and I think that might have been it, with all the norms on how many girls I could have sex with, or how much of an individual I was. And then furthermore, I did think that I wasn't normal. And it all colors the moment in some strange ways. I think the actual norms and the finality of all these averages put together is that I'm not really, the one who achieved the most or succeeded the most. In fact, in some ways, I did fail. And I think I failed because I didn't measure the situation properly, and I didn't reach my potential with perfect timing, similar to something like dance and sports and music as well. And I guess I combined way too many variables into a real mix of a Renaissance man and a jack of all trades. And then I think I lost sight of the real goal, which is to be somewhat of a saint or a martyr on earth. And all things considered, the luxury role really is to be eclectic. And I look at a lot of people out there, and I don't think I want to let eclectic win quite yet, and I don't want to always succumb to it. But I think it has some perks, and I guess I keep focusing on the fact that it's not really all that hip and cool. But I think the hip and cool people are a specialty group, and they have had their coolness stolen by Renaissance men and jacks of all trades. And that's what it felt like at the time, but then I might have found that that wasn't true. I might find that I don't tune into the world and that everyone is eclectic. But I guess there's a lot of hidden stuff that I hate to realize. And, I guess doing time in a lockdown facility where you aren't really in touch with everyone, I think I lost sight of some important individualistic things, some very important norms type things. And then I also lost sight of some interesting perspectives on what, reasons are out there for doing what you do and being who you are. And it has distorted my view of what's scientific. And I suppose the work I'm doing is bonus to a lot of people. We still all arrive at that location, but getting to heaven and I guess you have to be kind of mindful of every cue, and you have to be willing to microanalyze things and macroanalyze things, and that can't be done by one person alone except by God. And because I'm God, I think I don't really have that personality or that personage to lean on the collective mass of intelligence and not call it insanity, and realize it's a consensual reality, and that we're very honored by all these constructs and differences in ethnicity and religion, and even in politics and your political views. So I guess, I'm hearing life is acceptable by some people. I think the pain and suffering people are going through out there because of all the trials and tribulations and tests. I think we're all a little mad at God right now, and that he deserves to suffer. And I do think I'm suffering. I do think that actual final conclusion isn't going to be reached even by the highest one. And I would hate to say it, or I'd love to say it, but I guess, I guess I don't understand people sometimes. And it can seem pretty cheap. Bye, Elena! And I'm going to lock my door real quick. Yeah, I guess I'm hearing, some people don't want to live forever. Would you say that, would you say you could be happy or content for long periods of time? Or is that simply not possible, to break time up and look at all these little views and those big views? I mean, I guess I'm talking about kind of what I imagine life. And it seems that we're not really, I don't think we're privy to that knowledge quite yet. I think some people are saying life's doable. Some people are saying it's not. And some people are saying they can be. And sometimes we don't have to ask why, because why not ask why? So I guess left to my own devices, I chose that panic and to pass the baton. It's very much a couple's race, and I think it's also something that we can pass on to a longer term and conditions in a longer race altogether, something like a marathon. And I don't always like to say I have cowardice. I know that I'm a little bit hesitant to kind of fuck myself over in a bad way, wherein I don't remember, who I am or what I've done. But I guess there's another view that we would operate at an inverse and think that we are a bad guy or bad guys, and I guess I kind of modified the world to be what I wanted it to be, and that happened sometime in Portland on a very Machiavellian level. So yeah, I'd say Machiavelli was a king historically. I understand he's a person, not just a cartoon or actor, but I guess the reason to choose to want to be great and be a king and be God, I think it's a welcome addition to the whole family to want to be someone, and it's a mitzvah to try to be someone. And I guess I would call it, try your best to be God, because I think we'd all love that. And then the actual role requires a deep sense of duty and responsibility that traps you forever. And I guess some of this dry humor is going on right now, and I'm willing to share with you my understanding of my metacognitive abilities. I guess I would hate to get tunnel vision and focus too closely on some of these points, like I'm purely playing a game. But I do think there's something about karma points, and then there's something about money where we can either have karma points or money points, and then sometimes it looks like we can't have both, but sometimes it can be a little bit in between. And I think I earned the green. But I aside from the irony that I am worth a lot, I would say I'm probably a little poor right now. Not in like a major way, just in sort of a, I guess I would call it kind of an Emerson view or a Henry David Thoreau view. I'm kind of self-reliant and don't have all the luxuries that the American dream assumes, and I don't think that precludes me from responsibility, I guess, because I guess poor people aren't always the best people themselves, and sometimes we assume we are. But I guess there is something noble about making money and having it, and saving it too, I suppose. Some type of impulse control or delayed gratification. I think I would have loved that training, and I would have imagined it, but I've always loved stuff and gear and objects. And for me, I mean, the difference between a good meal and a pair of shoes is that I'd rather choose shoes. So I have some odd interests, and it's a light shading to a very black and white issue, and I think rich people are seen and heard, and then I think poor people are still unseen and unheard. And at that capital where the bank is, we are allowed to rage against the machine. And, I think I am trying to impress Zach De La Roca. I don't know what conversations happen there, but I've always looked for a third-party server or group as a political entity. And as long as there's order, there can be anarchy. And as long as there's anarchy, there needs to be order. And in no certain order, there is a wonderful thing. And I guess I lost that view when I sort of surrendered to my impotence and my denial of love and beauty, and even some of the things in between. Because I just started saying that, life is a living hell, and that I want to get out of here and I don't want to live anymore. And there was always some supposed thing or person popping in. And if anyone's trapped, I want to be upfront that there's a lot that's in, and I'm kind of a set it and forget it and crock pot type guy, and I'm gonna have to kind of simmer and marinate here and stew and ruminate, and I guess that makes the food better, but it still seems like maybe I'll go to heaven maybe like 1,000 years out. And it's an interesting dichotomy to know that I can't take it anymore sometimes, and that I can. Because oftentimes I'm being tortured in my room by what I call myself, or the third party, but I guess also I would call it simply anxiety and agitation, and it leads to no sight of the future and no sight of the past. And for some odd reason, I think that can be kind of a happy thing, because I'm so focused on the kind of minutia and the kind of minutia. So I guess, after that stint at, UNC or Duke, or Duke, I think I arrived at the fact that mental hospitals are actually they're kind of worse than prisons. But I guess the one thing I can't lose is my ability to smoke. And I'm smoking now, and as you know, that's bad for you. And I guess I don't know why, or but I know that seems to represent some kind of gray sacrifice that I'd be willing to make. But it also, I just keep telling myself that I'm already done. And I take it with a grain of salt, and as that means nothing or everything or anything in between, I think the mental retardation and the mental illness dissipated into something a little bit vague, and that was because I kept forgetting thoughts. And the cigarettes are a memory drug, and there's something special. And at some point, they did worse in my PTSD. But now that I'm comfortably numb, I think I'm colored by a perspective that that I'm in need of something, and I don't know if it's true or not, because it can be cut in half and quartered, and it can be taken care of in kind of a very strange and hard to describe way. And every in and out of tobacco addiction remains to me, I think it's a promise that that I can kind of renew the dead and kind of put the living to sleep. I would wonder if that's possible, but I think strung across the universe, I've called it missing, and I've called it memory. And I keep variabilizing it, and I do see that there is something about it where it isn't always the craziest trick, I guess. It's actually the craziest treat. And that crazy treat kind of leads me to think that, I'm kind of the type of guy who's saying, now we can have it, and I wrote about it this morning. Any time is fine, but you can't actually say any time is fine, but now is good. And, I think it is smell, on an autumn morning back when I used to live in Washington, and it can be the smell of pines at Christmas. And that safe, protected feeling I felt as a child was actually accessible unto a dream. And, I don't know what the worth is sometimes, but I do respect it. And I guess if someone's asking for pristine or beauty or love, I think there's something farther than that. And I think it's our closest thing. And that is somewhere in between. But not necessarily, and essentially I may have lied or forgot or been wrong. I suppose we don't always know what happened, but I don't think there is an undo yet until undo yourself kind of means something unto itself. And my God and my wife and my friends and my family. And that really is a large group, and I don't think it makes sense, but I think it's happening all the time, and I call it death. But with intuition, I think everyone comes up with their own conclusion, and it's a working conclusion that no one is trapped. And I'm married to the people, and yes, I do, and yes, I can, and yes, we will. And I think yes, we can is probably pretty close to the truest notion of what I want. So I guess, I always wanted I want to help people. I think what I could do for someone is I could lose something, and I could remain attached. If you really want to call it me, in some distorted mode, I'd say, I know I want you to be happy, but I feel I could alienate myself from you, or already have. And sometimes we say that's forever when we're in a bad mood or when we're a kid. But I think getting disconnected from someone is temporary, and it's part of God's plan. Because, at the end of the day, God will always love you, and He's committed, and He's committed. And if you want to make Him commit even more and over the top and surplus, stay committed to Him and stay committed to your goals to help people and be a good person and create a better world. So I guess some people aren't going to be mad about the fix-it guy or the thief, but I don't think the devil is really the deepest root. I think some type of superficial, kind of Zen-like Japanese garden heaven, is in store at a wedding with the smell of the cherry blossom trees and the beautiful bells and kind of some of the less wild things. But whatever you consider a creature is sometimes something like, that airport in Seattle and Tacoma that's somewhere in between. It's called SeaTac. And you can imagine being psychedelic in a anonymous place, and the people get that, and I guess I'm somewhere in between. I think I want to be amorous, and I've been left to some limited language, but I think some of the sexual pleasures I get can be done at crossed lines. And when you cross those boundaries out of love, I think you see that I'm not willing to I'm willing to look at the embarrassment and the embarrassment triggers, but I'm not willing to give up sometimes some of my deeper beliefs. And I don't think I'm a fake or a phony. I don't know if I'm fake, but I guess I like to be what I call, pardon me, but I call it horny, I guess. I think it is it's a notion that it's a notion that you're kind of controlled by passion, and that passion, I guess, desire and passion possess you. And it seems like a perfect goal and dream. It can seem a little bit odd that it was underexposed, but I can turn it off at work, and I can turn it off at school, and I can save it for my one true special one. And her name is Blake, and her name is, I don't know, it can be kind of, okay, I can make it underwhelming, because in all honesty, I think I might lose her, and I might lose the dream. But I may as well, keep doing the narcissism. And I think of it as masturbation, but I think it's pretty cool that I've included everyone, and it's even, okay that I included me. So I guess putting those graphs and charts and diagrams together, I think I can be mathed and graphed at some odd things. And love is so similar to any type of fantasy or imagination. And my life manual includes, all of my favorite things. And when you put those kind of 10x kind of things down on paper, it can look arbitrary, it can look perfect, it can just mean meaning, and meaning means meaning. But I think, I guess when you forget the thought and you don't know if we're in the aftermath, I guess I don't know yet. I wonder if it'll work. There's other things to do, and before Christ is a time that we simply consider a plus kind of thing. I guess you could call it arbitrary. So I guess, I don't want to look at that word from too many angles or misuse it. I think the meaning actually is some level of kind of union, like a yoga orb. And it has to do with masculinity and femininity. And the true man has the true dream. And I do disagree with some people about the ultimate lie. I don't think that would happen, but I do think there's something dark and greedy about me, and sometimes people don't like what they see. I keep saying that as sort of a problem or, construct at robot or animal or psychopath. But I guess my ability to manipulate things allows for a starker contrast, and that is simply that she completes me. And vibration and worship and object worship seem like pretty deep things that are double covered. And sometimes they're double covered, but in certain moments they're not always heard or seen. I think that concludes things. And, I guess in a human relations laboratory, what I call the milieu, I'm okay with negativity. I believe it is 10% of the full spectrum. And intention and chaos amidst all of this, I'm happy you guys are experimenting with me and sharing these experiences. And most importantly, you can look at that convergence in a deep way or a superficial way, but just make it all your own, and don't hate the player, hate the game, and don't hate other people, hate yourself and things, because within all of that is an inverse differential that is beyond scale and beyond measure, and it simply may be biology, and beyond that, it simply may be fantasy. But ultimately, the measure is up to you. That can be very isolating if you're on kind of drugs like marijuana that make you feel kind of dumb and crazy, and you start comparing and contrasting yourself. I think going to a place where you hate all people and all things and all of the pain, I think you get to a point where you find you were just hating yourself, and that was a good thing. So I walked through some of these hurdles and these tunnels.
Okay.
Hello. And I guess those tunnels, it's kind of like a challenge course. So yeah, I guess does that conclude things for today? Okay. Well, I'm going to be trying to attend some of these groups a little more. I understand there's Patria. This isn't a new Patria, right? Okay, this is the same Patria, that intensive inpatient, outpatient program. Okay.
Yes.
Lean on me that
Did you see him play?
on the hand
Did you see him?
that
Wait, does he
has
see him?
you so long. Who cares where we go on this rugged old road? In a world that makes it
What's that mean?
a love
No, yeah, Cher is supposed to. What's it? Cher is supposed to. Mr. Waters on the ghost of those kids.
will never grow.
Yeah, but 30. What's that? Yeah, what did he do? Like, did you do this weird shit, man?
I don't know if you know everything, man. He's yeah, he's willing to work at that retirement home, right? What does he need?
Yeah, buys me us food.
No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. I'm 2 hours of pushing through. Doesn't pay my 12 for business. I'm a man, these vibes know me. King of the road. I don't pay no union dues. I smoke all stogies I have found.
P-I-L-L-I-O-N?
Can you say it again? P-A-P-P-I-L-O-N? Poodle?
Yes.
Okay. I love her.
Sophie, come here.
Thank you. P-A-P-I-L-L-O-N.
Yes.
Poodle. Okay.
To my knowledge, that's how you spell
Thank
that.
you.